Hey folks, Reloading Bench here. As you saw in the previous video, or whenever I posted an earlier video, depending on which one you watch and which order, you'll see that I was able to score some once fired brass. So I spent time cleaning that and the finished product, a whole bunch. Let's see if I can twist the camera around to see it a little bit. Whole big bunch, about 60 pieces. So what I'm going to do now is go through sizing, full-length resizing. And I don't know if I'll break this up into a couple videos or not, but I did a practice run this afternoon and met with disaster. I don't mind showing you failures on my attempts, but I wanted to try this on my own just to see how things would work, and they didn't go so well because it's the biggest size brass I've ever resized, and my normal methodologies didn't quite work as expected. So I'll walk you through what happened. Basically what I'm doing right now is exactly what I did earlier in my test. Throw the die in, shell holder, and taking primed brass or spent primed brass and trying to resize that. So normally what I do, say for 223, I've got a homemade batch, a little bit left, of the equivalent of the Hornady, actually not Hornady, what is it, Dillon spray, lanolin and rubbing alcohol essentially. And that works great in terms of doing high volume. So that, and the other go-to for me is Imperial dye, or rather Imperial wax. I like this stuff a lot. So what I started with was the Imperial wax, and I'll actually go through what happened so you can see in terms of ease of use. So I was quite liberal with the wax as compared to what I would do, say, with 223 or 308 or 300 Winchester Magnum. And when I went to do my first, and I took it slow, when I went to do my first resize, I felt it go in, and it got about, everything dropped, and that's about where I got it. And when I pulled that out, I had no luck because the decapping rod was now inside my resized brass. So that was a bummer. And the good side is it was very easy to get out by taking things apart and maneuvering the shell plate. But it was a surprise. It was a big surprise. So as I've been doing each one, and I don't normally do this, take an old towel, because there's so much lubricant on the brass, and toss that in. So at first I thought, well, it was because of the resizing, of the sizing dye wax. Dinner's coming back up. Apologies. And then I went over to try, simply because that was such a big fail, I went over to try the homemade stuff. And again, I never get it this lubricated, simply because I would spray a whole bunch of cases at once. And notice that was a little harder to get out, little little more violent, I guess you could say. And then based on what I'd read online, what some other folks have tried, motor oil. So I had some motor oil laying in the garage. Never in my life tried that before. So I thought, you know, and I'm talking a very, very light coating of the motor oil. Towel's getting a workout in terms of all the gunky. And that worked decent in terms of what I was trying back and forth. So if I had to rate them all, I would say they're probably now at this point, with everything adjusted, equal, I would say. Cheapest is obviously going to be the motor oil, based on how that's sold. And I've taken this die apart more times than I can tell you today, because there's very little lip flat surface to work with in order to tighten this, because just having it in the press is not like having it in a vise, and you can't get this turned down. So I was in the vise with this locked down. I was doing probably quarter turns, and I had to do 10 quarter turns in order to get this locked down, because it was not, and that was a little harder to get out, it was not playing nice. There were a few times where the decapping die rod was pulled out. Lost track of how many times I did that today, but all is well in terms of getting that done. So I'll do one more here with each. Here's the motor oil, and when I rewatch this, I guess I'll be the judge of it's definitely flexing the bench and the press. It's a big, heavy piece of brass. In fact, I need to weigh one of them. I did take before and after measurements of the brass in this state and then post resizing, and I'm finding on average it's growing about 7 to 9 1/100ths of an inch. I'm going to say maybe the best is with my little homegrown spray. Towel's going to need a cleaning after this, but resized, decapped, ready for trimming if necessary, based on how much it grew. So that's it for now. Talk to you guys later.